you're trying to beat out headlines.
Sure.
I was explaining before, it's like 100 people quarantined is a lot better than 7 positive cases. You know,
Wow.
which one's going to sell more? When you're talking about, having 14,000 students,
Yeah.
and you're talking about 23 schools,
Wow.
it's just, you've got to put it in perspective. And it's many times they just want to go with the headlines.
Yeah, they just want that sensational blast out there, that 100 kids or whatever it might be, the number, and that's what gets conveyed.
Yeah.
But
Okay. So
Well,
shall we get started?
yeah, I was just going to say I'd like to welcome everybody. Good morning. My name is Chris Cochran. I'm the voice behind the logo this morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to our February education meeting. I'd like to welcome our superintendent of the Escondido Unified School District, Dr. Luis Rankins-Ibarra. He can give us a little more of an update on his very busy weekend and things that we were discussing here as people have been joining us. And I'd also like to welcome Shannon Morrison and Tiffany Lamar from Community Housing Works. They will also be speaking and presenting. And with that being said, we have our CEO and president, Mr. James Roten, on board, along with quite a few other people here in our community, some board members and ambassadors. And I'd like to welcome you all once again to February Education, and we'll let you take it away, Luis.
All right, thank you. Thanks for this opportunity, real quick, and thank you all for joining us. We are excited to have our 2 special guests from Community Housing Works. What we'd like to do is highlight some great programs that are in our community, because oftentimes we hear of these programs, but we're not actually sure of what they do, or we believe we know what they do, but oftentimes when we dig a little deeper, we realize they're doing so much more for our community. So again, I'd like to welcome our guests, and we will get to them real soon, but I just wanted to have this opportunity to just talk about schools reopening and kind of what we're doing to open our schools. Unfortunately, this weekend, our school district, the Escondido Union School District, got caught up in the national debate on whether schools should open or not. And yeah, what's unfortunate about this is we get caught up. I mean, this is a whole national debate. Should we open? Should we not? And what we have been doing from the very beginning, and I see Sean Roner is here from Heritage Charter School, and they've also been open for some time as we have. And it's really, how do we do it, and how do we do it safely? And we've done that. We have guidance, as every business and organization it has guidance. You are given some guidance from the public health on what you need to do to be open. And as you know, schools are essential workers. We agree that we're vital to the economy coming back. So, and right now the national debate is, when should schools open, and should we even be open at all? I mean, this is a very scary situation. It's scary for a lot of employees. It's scary for all of us. Our boards of education have struggled with this. But we know that if we follow the science, if we follow the protocols, and we're talking about these strong safety protocols, that it ensures that people are wearing masks, that our students are 6 feet away from each other. Our desks we're accomplishing 6 feet apart in the classroom. And we have hand sanitizing stations. Most recently, our district invested in these industrial-sized HEPA filtration units that circulate the air 6 times within the hour, and you end up with hospital quality air in our classrooms and our common spaces. So we've invested a lot in making sure that it's safe, first and foremost, safe for all of our students and staff. However, we still have these requirements. And when you get one positive case in your classroom, and again, not that anybody gets it's if they come into your campus, and again, we do screenings, but you know that sometimes you don't have, if someone does not have a fever or does not have any symptoms, you're not going to catch that. So we had that on our second day. Within the first few days, we had one family. Unfortunately, it was an extended family, and had ended up with 4 siblings on one of our campuses, and a middle schooler and a preschooler that affected three campuses and quite a few people. And when you're in the classroom, even though they're sitting 6 feet apart, public health is still requiring us to quarantine the entire classroom. And that's out of an abundance of caution. So one positive case, realistically for a school, and we have classes that are 12. We reduce classes, so at one time there's only 12 students in a classroom for us to maintain the 6 feet of social distancing. So you know, on average, it's about 12 people, including the teacher, that would be quarantined. So it's not very hard for you to get to 100 if you just do the math. Mathematically, that's about 10 cases. We're averaging, it's about 1 to 2 cases a day, if you really look at that. And again, we've got 23 schools. We've got about got 14,000 students, but we've got probably about 5,000 students in our hybrid model. So we've got quite a bit of students. And when you look at the percentage, it's quite small. But again, even 1 is alarming, and I don't want to discount that. And, you know, to send notifications to say, yes, you were in a classroom with someone who has a positive case, so therefore you have to quarantine. That is alarming, and it is disruptive, because what happens to that class, the teacher and the students revert back to distance learning. But again, that's all part of being open. If you're open, you have to go quarantine. I mean, you could, and as I mentioned, everybody has these guidances, you know, for employees. The supermarket, you don't know who's going in. What they do keep track of is the workers. And if they have a positive case, they have to quarantine. However, they don't have to quarantine all the customers that were there that day. Or do they know who was there at that same period? So again, for us, we do know. So therefore, we have to do this extensive notification that goes out, and contact tracing. And nobody does that for us. We have to do that for ourselves. So again, just this weekend, we got caught up in the national debate. So we had our story run in CNN, USA Today, Good Morning America. And again, we're doing the very best to offer a safe learning environment for our schools. And we believe we are, I mean, you know, we've put a lot of safety measures in place, and not, so when you hear that we have high numbers of quarantines, it doesn't mean that there's 100 people that ended up positive. It means there were, in this case, there was 7 individuals who came onto our campus that were positive. And we know that in these cases, it didn't come from the exposure there, because we were closed a few days before. So they came onto our campuses. And again, you monitor all the people that are the 100 people that quarantines. And I have a high confidence level that they won't revert into positive cases, because that's what would be called an outbreak, is when you see these little cohorts, suddenly everybody starts getting sick or is infected. And that's not simply the case in any of our schools. So that's kind of a little bit of my weekend, and just a little information of how we're managing this pandemic. I don't know, Sean, you're experiencing the same thing as I am, right? So.
Yeah, I 100%, and I think you hit the nail on the head, which is that the information that we're experiencing over the past 10 months since the March closure, or whatever, 10, 11 months, and what we're actually experiencing, and then what's being communicated in the media, unfortunately, is not helpful, I think, to parents and even to teachers. And I think it's been a challenge, like you said, to help the community understand that our schools are following the strictest health guidelines. I talk to friends that are firefighters and police officers, even the hospitals. We have the strictest quarantining requirements that you could possibly have at schools. And so I think with your situation over the weekend, having been in your shoes, the first thing I thought was, you're doing a great job because you're quarantining the kids and keeping everybody safe. But that's not how it gets communicated out to the public. They see it as, oh my gosh, this is a dangerous situation. And in the reality is there's no transmission happening on school campuses, or at least very little. And the schools are doing a really good job in San Diego County. I was thinking also something I wanted to share with the group was that Luis and I and other school leaders have been on these calls with the county superintendent. I know before Thanksgiving break, they've been tracking data, and they had shared that there was like 2 cases of on-campus transmission, or some really small number out of all the students in San Diego County that were doing on-campus instruction. So the good news is we've learned a lot over the past few months, over the months since we started the closure last March, and the schools are doing really well. And so I agree with you 100%. It's been really difficult trying to navigate that because how strict the guidelines are. But I'm hoping that as this debate goes out into the community more, there'll be better information that will be able to, in the news, will be given to families and community members so they can understand really what's going on the ground level for in our schools, at least in our community.
Yeah. And here's the thing, everyone. This debate's not going to be over for a while for all of it. I'm already looking way into the future. We know the vaccines the educators will have the accessibility to the vaccines here in the next few weeks. We're crossing our fingers, or months, but they will get to us. What about the students? The students, 16 and over, it's been treated, but they won't even start studying that till early summer, having the trials. So we're going to be in this debate for some time on whether should we open, should we not. And we've been having this debate, each one of us, and with our own school boards. What is happening here is happening across the United States, and we're not alone. It's just, and again, I just foresee that we're going to be having this debate well into the future until the student population is vaccinated as well. So, and again, what can we do is we just need to share information, and the more we can share resources, the better it will be, So that's it. So thank you. Can we pivot now to our presenters? Okay. So today we have with us Shannon Morrison, who's a Resource Development Manager, and Tiffany Lamar, Resource Development Associate from Community Housing Works. So welcome, and we are happy to hear what you have to present, so we can get to know a little bit more about Community Housing Works. Thank you.
Thank you all. We're glad to be here. Let's get this situated.
All right, thank you, everyone.
All righty. Well, I hope everyone was at least able to get some rest after the Super Bowl yesterday. And hopefully you're having or getting ready to have a great week. I am so excited just to be here, just to talk about what Community Housing Works is doing, especially with a lot of the programs that we're offering within our community as well. And before we jump too heavily into the discussion and presentation, I do want to just acknowledge the countless hours all of us have spent on Zoom. So I want to promise to be as engaging as I possibly can be. So please utilize that chat box for questions that come up as we present, just to provide your email, or simply just to connect with us. So we also provide a link in the chat box for you, just so that following the presentation, if any questions come up, there will also be a portion of that survey where you can ask those questions, and one of us can follow up with you personally. To introduce myself, I'm Tiffany Lamar, again, the Development Associate here at Community Housing Works. And again, I get really excited to talk about our organization. Working with this organization has just shown me what it means by it takes a village, because each of us play a key role in ensuring the strength and health of a stable community continues to grow. With that being said, I look forward to explaining who we are, what we do, and why we do it alongside Shannon Morrison.
Thanks so much, Tiffany, and thank you to everyone here at the Escondido Chamber of Commerce. As mentioned, my name is Shannon Morrison, and I'm the Resource Development Manager at Community Housing Works. Tiffany and I are honored to share with you today more about Community Housing Works and what we do. I'm a fourth generation San Diegan, and I'm really passionate about affordable housing because I believe that everyone deserves to live here and take pride in where they live. So today we're going to take you on a virtual tour of Community Housing Works to show you who we are and what we do. Community Housing Works was founded in 1988 to build apartments and opportunity. We were founded by North County faith and civic leaders who were worried about homeless moms in cars and homeless farm worker families in canyons, and by City Heights leaders worried about the neighborhood effects of unstable housing. Here you can see our first community, Las Casitas, right here in Escondido. This community offers permanent supportive housing to chronically homeless and disabled parents. From housing 6 homeless families right here in Escondido to building apartments for over 9,000 lower income people of every background across the state, we keep growing. What you see here is our state map. We have 37 communities in San Diego County and 5 throughout the state of California, in San Jose, Concord, Fresno, and Santa Clara. Right here in the city of Escondido, we have 10 communities. We work with 74 county partners, and we serve 1,419 residents in 508 units. You might recognize some of these communities as being right in your own backyard. Avocado Court, Las Casitas, Manzanita, Daybreak Grove, Sunrise Place, 15th Avenue Cooperative, Eucalyptus View, Orange Place, and Windsor Gardens. Now, our mission is that opportunity begins with a stable home. Community Housing Works builds and provides life-changing affordable apartment communities with resident-centered services so that working families, seniors, and people with disabilities can all forge stronger futures. So why does this matter? Well, as I'm sure you know, California is in a housing crisis. Currently, 1 in 5 households spend over 50% of their salary on rent. 119 hours is the amount of hours a minimum wage worker needs to work per week to afford rent. And over 134,000 Californians do not have a home. These numbers continue to grow. We are fighting the housing crisis by preserving and developing affordable apartments, creating more stable homes. So how do we do it? Well, first, we tap public and private partnership capital to build apartments that stay affordable and in our ownership long-term. That's the first miracle. Then we provide innovative services and community that help residents build opportunity. You'll hear more about those today. You may ask, how do we pay for those services? Primarily with community contributions like grants and individual donations that are matched 3-to-1 from resident rents and housing fees. So we're building homes and we're building opportunity. It's a rare combined miracle. Our housing and real estate development team has a combination of new construction and acquisition or renovation of existing apartment communities. For new construction projects, we acquire the land and create the concept of development, who it will serve, what it will look like, and how it will support the needs of the specific community. Then our asset and achieve teams come in on operating plans and resident service plans. Our asset department handles the oversight of our property management companies and maintaining our buildings, while our program services department manages the resident services and the programs that make our communities so unique. Once all of these designs are created, they go for approval by the city. Now, I'm not on this side of business development, but I can share with you a little bit about how we finance new apartment communities. It's a big, long process. We have strong relationships with banks for loans and mortgages, and we have a reputation of building on time, on budget, and being excellent owners and operators. And this helps us to secure our funding. We have an acquisition team that goes out and looks for new properties, working with a broker, similar to for-profit businesses. Usually, the fact that we provide services is what makes us most attractive. So we provide programs for our residents that include financial well-being, after-school support, health and wellness education, and activities. Our financial well-being programs include a credit strengthening program that provides residents with the ability to build credit by paying their rent online and teaching people how to balance a checkbook so that their next generation can be more successful. Now, I love this infographic here. I feel like it really shows who we are, shows that we serve over 9,000 residents and a little breakdown of who those residents are. And then those 4 program areas that we provide support for our residents and provide opportunities for engagement. Now, to put all of this into context, how do these community housing works efforts fit into solving the big housing and homelessness crisis that we have to conquer? First, powerful talk. Community Housing Works is a vital leader in the housing and homelessness conversations. From advocating for initiatives that meet the full range of our housing needs, to answering questions from the neighbors who live across from our next affordable apartment site that includes formerly homeless residents. Second, powerful growth. Community Housing Works is growing our affordable apartments for families, seniors, and formerly homeless folks, with a goal to house 13,000 people no later than 2024 and hopefully before. And third, powerful support. Community Housing Works is uniquely dedicated to building opportunity and impact into every apartment through the way we build, the way we own, and the innovative services we provide. We are measuring our impact and increasing the money raised for services that magnify that impact. Our vision is that a majority of our low-income residents grab opportunity, strengthen their finances, and increase their health and stability. And that the dream of most of our resident parents comes true, that their kids will read well enough that they have a better future, where they'll be too successful to need affordable apartment homes. The result, with your help, is concrete steps towards that American dream we all want to believe in, where everybody really does have a stable home and the opportunity to reach their goals. Now, since we can't take you on an actual tour of a CHW community today, we're going to walk you virtually through our Paradise Creek community. Paradise Creek is a great example of a community coming together for something truly amazing. Now, this photo here shows kind of the before. So we're standing on the southern border of our National City community, one of the poorest and oldest Latino communities in the county. Residents have always loved this historic neighborhood, just steps from the bay. Many of our new construction communities, like Paseo Artist Village in Vista, start off just like this. A neglected tidal creek, Paradise Creek had become a junkyard. 100-year-old homes were not maintained, and kids lived with noxious air and asthma due to bad zoning and too many car painting shops and bus yards nearby. So resident leaders from the San Diego Organizing Project and Environmental Health Coalition and city leaders educated themselves and fought for a community plan that would move out noxious uses like the city bus yards and instead build 200 affordable apartments, 3 stories high, on formerly contaminated land in their community. Imagine a community fighting for apartments. And the outcome is Paradise Creek Apartments. There's now 200 studio to 4-bedroom apartments with rents ranging from $650 to $1,500. These are affordable rents that helped National City residents move out of garages and overcrowded slum homes. But there's more. There's also the restoration of Paradise Creek with volunteers. There's the comeback of birds and fish in an educational park. And there's a community garden that the residents are passionate to plant. There's a mural that our kids and adults here helped to create that captures the spirit of our place, of people coming together to do better together. So walk down this walkway with me to the community center. The community center at Paradise Creek is a beautiful example of the pride that we put into every Community Housing Works apartment community. We want our residents to feel proud of where they live and to be community oriented. Imagine yourself sitting at these tables, looking at the mural out the window and take in this brief set of stories about the life-changing impacts of Paradise Creek and other Community Housing Works apartments. We offer every resident our mission promise that opportunity begins with a stable home. That opportunity begins when Community Housing Works provides a safe, stable home in a quality, healthy apartment community. But we don't stop there. On this tour, we're going to make 3 stops to talk about the other key ways we help residents reach for their own opportunity: true community, home stability, and next generation success. Now I'd like to ask Tiffany to tell us about true community and share the story of Sylvia.
Awesome. Thanks, Shannon. So on this first stop, in telling you all what a true community means to us and how it's so much more than just an apartment building. So for a moment, I'd like you to think about where you grew up as a kid. What are some fond memories you have of that neighborhood and or other families and the people that live near you? We always just want you guys to think about, like, did those people help you feel safe and included? We conducted focus groups with Community Housing Works residents, and we asked them what qualities they were looking for in an apartment community. They told us something that was slightly different than an average community. They wanted a true community, a place where they really knew their neighbors, where people looked out for each other, and with neighbors who were able to help when they needed it. Isn't that something that all of us would want, is the support of a true community? For our seniors, it may look a little different. For our seniors, a true community can be a matter of health and survival. Now, in light of the coronavirus pandemic and the stay-at-home orders that come and go, our seniors are more at risk than ever for senior isolation. Our community building coordinators, they're the ones who are on the grounds in these apartment communities and are making great efforts just to keep our seniors connected to their communities virtually. So a true community, one where residents are actively engaged with each other and with our services that have the power to transform their lives. So with this photo right here, that was Sylvia. And Sylvia is a resident who changed her life with the power of a true community. Here on this slide, we have a picture of Sylvia with her mom at Paradise Creek. Sylvia and her elderly parents, they lost their home to foreclosure in 2013. And after her mother's heart attack and her father's kidney disease diagnosis, they could no longer work and were forced to close their business, unfortunately. Sylvia also lost her job during the recession, and despite her MBA and years of professional experience, she was unable to find work. When they lost their home, Sylvia's parents lived in a garage of a family friend without a bathroom of their own, and Sylvia rented a small room far away. Imagine just being isolated from your family without the necessities like a bathroom of your own, things that we typically take for granted sometimes. And Sylvia and her family felt deeply alone and trapped in a form of hopelessness. In 2016, all 3 of them were approved to move into Paradise Creek, and their lives completely changed. Sylvia told us, we have a warm, quiet place to sleep and pray, a restroom of our own to use early in the morning or late at night, and a kitchen we can cook and laugh together. And Community Housing Works provided Sylvia and her family with more than just an affordable home. She told us Paradise Creek supported me in getting back on my feet, transforming my life and ascending into a higher state of mind. When Sylvia arrived at Community Housing Works home, she had a true community for the first time. We want you guys to think about what a difference that could make for someone. Her parents are much happier and their mental health has improved by being connected to a community of neighbors. Sylvia went on to become a resident leader and now empowers her neighbors and advocates for environmental justice, public safety, and community health in National City. From community resident to an active member in San Diego, she is only one example of the many residents who come into a Community Housing Works home and transform their lives through the power of a true community. Our next stop is home stability, which is so much more than just a roof over your head. Now, this statement really hit me deeply, but a formerly homeless resident once told us homelessness is a full-time job, something that I've never thought about. Her health problems worsened, and she was consumed with stress every single day, just worrying about where to get food and water, where to shower, where to sleep. Imagine that without a stable home, your first and only priority was your immediate survival. there's not really room for anything else, including planning for your future. So at Community Housing Works, again, our mission, opportunity begins with a stable home. Today, I'd like to challenge you guys to think about instability. What does instability look like? That may be multiple moves, difficulty paying rent, and homelessness, all markers of an unstable home. Each of these situations have adverse effects on the health of families, especially children. And families experiencing home instability are at a higher risk of hunger, extended hospitalizations, and poor health that follows children into adulthood. We believe that if our residents have a stable home, they can then focus on achieving their dreams. And we support them by offering services and partnering with community organizations like the Center, Interfaith, the Jewish Family Foundation, Live Well San Diego, and many others. It's through the collaboration with many of these organizations that we're able to provide our residents with the best services right where they need them most, in the home. Again, the Center, Interfaith Community Services, Seroptimus of Poway, Crisis House, and many others are all a part of that collective effort. So at this time, that wraps up stop 2 on how home stability is a platform for so many other opportunities that lead to success. At this time, I'd like to kick it back over to Shannon for our last stop, which is next generation success.
Thanks so much, Tiffany. As Tiffany alluded to, we offer programs and services in the areas of next gen success, resident engagement, financial well-being, supportive housing, which is focused on formerly homeless residents, and health and wellness. Today, I wanted to focus on next gen success. And these programs include our Study Stars program, some Achieve Team programs, our Sue Reynolds Valor Scholarship, and Career Pathways program. In Escondido, we run Study Stars at Avocado Court, Manzanita, Eucalyptus, and Orange Place. The Annie E. Casey Foundation reports that 80% of fourth graders living in low-income households are not reading at grade level. And those 4 out of 5 kids are 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. A group of parents at Orange Place back in 1988 asked us for our help, and thus began Community Housing Works Next Gen Success programs. When you add our educational programs to our home stability and to the peer support of a true community, every child has a real opportunity to excel. Our Study Stars program provides K through 5th grade youth with access to the cutting edge iReady e-learning program. Many of you probably already know about iReady since it's used in many local schools. What I love about iReady is that it adapts to every child's individualized reading level, providing custom lessons and progress reports for parents and teachers to track each child's success. Many parents have told us that they previously didn't feel like they had a tool to talk about their child's success. And then now with the iReady diagnostics, they do. And it's a really powerful tool they use to engage with the child's teacher. With this program, we've doubled the amount of Study Stars kids who can read at grade level. And that's twice the national average for kids in low-income households. So I'd like to tell you about April here on the screen. She's a resident 2nd grader and Study Stars student. When April first came to Study Stars, she had so many problems at school and was not communicating well with her teachers or her classmates. April's mom found the Study Stars after school program at their Community Housing Works Learning Center and thought this might be just what April needed to help her come out of her shell. By participating, April has grown so much while attending Study Stars. Her teachers have noticed a difference, and her mom told us that she sees a difference in her daughter's happiness and well-being, and that she's being the wonderful daughter she knew she could be. April has been using our iReady e-learning program, first in the Learning Center and now remotely, to learn reading skills in a fun and interactive way. She's gone from reading below grade level to now being right on track for reading at her 2nd grade reading level. We celebrate these success stories because this has not been an easy task during a pandemic. Since COVID-19 hit, our students are currently unable to access the computer lab, and we have shifted all of our Study Stars program to be a virtual format. Thanks to the support of our community, CHW has been able to make this pivot to remote learning and to virtual delivery of Study Stars. Now we're proud to report that 236 students are enrolled in iReady. That virtual access to Study Stars and online tutoring and academic support is imperative to our student residents during this critical time. And as Luis was mentioning kind of earlier, with the schools opening and closing and opening and closing, our staff has really just been needing to be nimble and adapt to really whatever our students need is what we want to provide them right now. Another program that we have for our teen and young adult residents is our our Sue Reynolds Valor Scholarship. So this is a $1,000 scholarship that is awarded to residents who are pursuing education. The Sue Reynolds Valor Scholarships can be applied towards community colleges, four-year universities, career and technical certifications, military education, and can be used for any kind of education-related expenses, not just tuition and fees, but also room and board, transportation, books, and school supplies. This year, we will be awarding 33 scholarships to deserving students. All scholarship recipients are resident students who live in one of our 42 affordable home communities. Here on the slide, you can see pictures of our scholarship winners from last year. This was at our first virtual scholarship celebration. And then we also have a photo on here from the year prior. And it's such a great event to really connect with our residents and see that impact of these programs firsthand on these people. Now, before we conclude our tour, I want to put all of this in perspective for you, to combine all the pieces and parts into something that will leave you with a sense of how important our work is and of how much an impact it makes on the people in our community who need it the most. Devin Overby is a prime example of the power of a stable home. He was one of our Valor Scholarship winners in 2019. He's truly a remarkable young man, a high-achieving student at Harvey Mudd University, a leader in his community, and a person with big dreams. But I'll let him tell you his story in his own words.
Home is a place to me where I can live with the people that I love in a trusting, happy, safe place. My name is Devin Overby and I've lived at Parkview Terrace for about 12 years now. Before moving into Community Housing Works, I lived in kind of a variety of different houses. My mom was moving a lot and we didn't have the most stable housing situation. My life was a little bit more chaotic and it wasn't very easy for me as a kid to grow up with that kind of thing and to understand what was happening. Living in a stable and affordable home has been pretty helpful because it's allowed me to focus on the things that I want to do with my life rather than being constantly worried about my own home situation and my mother's home situation. It's given me the ability to study across the street at the library and to study at home without, fear of bad things happening in a way. Having a stable home has helped my mother change her way of living a lot. She used to kind of vary between jobs and she didn't have the best circumstances when it came to finances in general. And once she had a place that she could stay without worrying about as much, she had the ability to hold on to her job and get focused on a routine that she could continue for the rest of her life happily. And that played a big part in my upbringing as well because I was a lot happier of a kid once my mother was happier and more stable. Today, I feel pretty content with everything that I have, and I feel really lucky to be placed where I'm placed. I live in a great community in a great city with a lot of amazing people. I was a little bit concerned about how I was going to afford college being low income, and anything helped essentially. So I applied to basically everything I could get my hands on. The Valor Scholarship was one of the ones that I had the most dead set because it was from someone that I trusted. So it means a lot that I just had the support that I did with the scholarship. I'll be going to school at Harvey Mudd. I want to get my PhD in theoretical astrophysics.
I love Devin's story, and every time I watch that video, I'm so impressed by what he's really able to make of himself with the support of a CHW home. So following our presentations, many people ask, are there ways I can support you? Can I volunteer? Can you keep me informed about CHW's achievements? And the answer is yes. We're glad you asked. So we have several virtual opportunities for those who are wanting to volunteer. We are currently looking for volunteers to help with our virtual learning. So that's the Study Stars program that I was talking about earlier. And then we are also looking for health and wellness volunteers to help with our food distribution as well. Right now, we are looking for volunteers for that food distribution in Poway, San Diego, North Park, and National City. And if you're interested in volunteering, you can reach out to us. We'll be happy to connect you with our volunteer coordinator and see whether there's a good fit for you. We have a couple of volunteers that we wanted to just give a quick shout out to. So here, this is Christian Anderson. He began volunteering as a tutor in our Study Stars program. He has shown up for almost every tutoring session and group Zoom meeting during the Study Stars. He has a large amount of patience with each kid and tries his best to make our students feel heard and cared for. And here we have Ruby Perez. She's been volunteering with our Study Stars program as well. She was looking for a meaningful volunteer opportunity to serve the community, so she decided to volunteer with CHW. She regularly helps with tutoring during our office hours, assisting kids with math, reading, and writing, and reading aloud. And Ruth has also participated in our community building Zoom calls with the students and parents. You can also volunteer to host a virtual tour just like this for your friends and colleagues. So please let us know if that's something that you're interested in doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Shannon. And I know, especially with this being the Education Committee, we were excited just to share a little bit more about how we use Study Stars and how we work with different school districts to make sure that that information and data is being shared in both directions. So again, thank you all for being a part of this virtual tour as we adjust to the virtual world. And at this time, we'd like to open the floor up to questions or for Q&A between Shannon and myself. And while both of us are fund development or part of the fund development department, we'd still love to take those questions, figure out what our community is interested in, and provide whatever answers we can to your questions. So take it away. And I'll go ahead and just leave the survey link in the chat box once again, so that for some who can complete that, we want to, just continue to make sure that we can give these presentations to our community.
Are there any questions? Jerry?
Yeah, it's just great to hear catch up on all the work that you guys have been doing. I had the privilege of working with CHW when I was with the city several years ago. And I guess my two things. One, I want to share a lesson I learned from one of your residents a long time ago when we were talking about low income housing, and she stopped me and she said, Jerry, I'm just poorly paid. And I thought that was an important reframing of what was going on. We kind of define, and sometimes you get this resistance to low income housing because people have a really unrealistic notion of that. But if you think of it as people who are just poorly paid, it changes the onus from the person to the people that she works for. So that's my question. Do you think that, what consequence do you see with the increasing of the minimum wage? Is that affecting your residents one way or the other? And are you still seeing as much resistance to the building of low-income housing as you look at new projects?
Those are good questions. I appreciate that quote from a resident of that I'm just poorly paid. To be honest, I'm not sure.
She had a master's degree, by the way.
And everyone has, extenuating circumstances where things change, and you might have had that great job and then you have a medical expense, you lose that job, you know, who knows what could happen. In terms of the increase of minimum wage, I'm sure that will have an effect on our residents. I'm sure that will have, you know, kind of an effect across the board, and we'll just have to see how that happens, and adjust as needed. And then, can you tell me the second part of your question again?
The community resistance to the citing of low-income housing.
That's right. I do feel like that's getting better. Our advocacy team is really great about bringing residents to like town hall meetings when we're discussing getting a new community, and bringing those residents there to share their own stories, I think really helps to show people that the people who are living in our communities are people just like you and me, and that the value that a CHW community can bring to that neighborhood. You know, we are still meeting some opposition, but the more that we're given the chance to tell our story and to tell those stories of impact and about how, you know, showing pictures of what our communities look like. You know, these are beautiful buildings that are coming into the community, and then the ways that our residents get involved. Just kind of the more that we share that, I think the more that we help change that perception.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think both of you kind of hit it on the head with the fact that it's literally a community effort. I mean, there's always, I think, going to be a little pushback when you think about new affordable apartments coming into a new city. But I think that that's another piece, like Shannon said, advocacy is a huge portion of what Community Housing Works does as well. I know we referenced Sylvia, but there's so many other Sylvias at the communities who we're not just providing affordable housing, but we're also trying to help encourage and build other advocates for affordable housing and the services that we provide. I see a few questions coming in the chat box. We have some that says, what kind of wait lists do we have, and how many projects have we completed, and how many are built?
So for a wait list, it is about 2 to 3 years for a wait list. So we encourage people to kind of get on our general interest list, and then whenever we have a new community that's opening up, we will reach out to those people on our interest list first, and we will reach out to people who are on the waiting list at a different community to see, you know, maybe you had a preference for a community in Escondido, but we have an opening in National City. Would you be willing to, you know, take a look there? In terms of how many projects have we completed, we've done 42 apartment communities, and that's about 3,300 units serving 9,000 residents. And I see new projects and what looks like refurbished projects. That is correct. So we both do acquisition and new development, and then we also do rehabilitation. So we recently started working on a project in National City where we purchased 2 towers that were already affordable housing, and we're in the process of renovating those, and then we'll be adding our services to that project. And with that, we the existing residents that live in that community stay in that community, and we are able to kind of put them up while we go through and renovate each unit. And then the other question here, do residents pay to an HOA? No, they do not. They do pay rent, but there is not an additional HOA fee.
Great questions.
Okay, do we have one more question?
Awesome.
Okay, well, again, excellent presentation. I really love the way you are changing the mindset of how we view low-income housing. Well done.
Thank you
very much.
It was really a pleasure. And if any other questions come up, you know, please reach out to Tiffany or myself, or if there's ways that you would like to get more involved with Community Housing Works, we'd be happy to talk with you about that. So thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you all.
Okay, bravo. Thank you. All right.
Wonderful.
Everyone, thank you so much to our guests. Chris, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody, sorry to interrupt you, Dr. Ibarra. I wanted to remind everybody that the meeting was recorded and it can be found on our Chamber of Commerce website. in our Zoom library. We have all of our Zoom meetings in our library there. If you happen to miss one, or if you'd like to follow up on anything or share them with people, you can find that on our chamber website. As Luis was starting to say, I'd like to thank Tiffany and Shannon for joining us this morning, certainly Dr. Ibarra. And I'd like to remind everybody that we have our economic development meeting at 9 a.m. this Thursday with Amber Track from the city of Escondido. We have our virtual mixer that evening at 5 p.m. And then on Wednesday, the 17th, sticking with the education theme, we have our February Rising Stars event on Wednesday, February 17th at 9 a.m. So hopefully you will be able to join us for that.
All right, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day, everyone, and we will see you at our next chamber event. And we do plan to have a March Education Committee meeting on the 8th. So mark your calendars. We'll send out more details as soon as we have those available. So keep an eye on our website. All right, have a great day, everyone, and thank you again to Community Housing Works. Thanks, Tiffany.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Bye.